I still remember the exact moment I met Olivia Carter 3 years ago, like it was yesterday. My life was a mess back then. My apartment had turned into a swamp because the guy upstairs decided to leave his bathtub running like some kind of absent-minded idiot. Water poured through my ceiling, soaking everything I owned, and I was left with no choice but to crash at my best friend Marcus's place while the repairs dragged on. That's where she walked into my world, Olivia, his younger sister. I was sitting on Marcus's lumpy couch, sipping a cheap beer and feeling sorry for myself, when she breezed through the door. She was stunning, long dark hair, bright green eyes that seemed to sparkle, and this confident smile that hit me like a punch to the chest. She didn't just walk into a room, she owned it. "You must be the flood victim," she said, her voice teasing but warm, and I laughed despite myself. She sat down next to me, closer than she needed to, and started asking me questions about my ruined apartment, my job, my life, like she actually cared. It felt good, you know? Like I was the only guy in the world worth talking to. We hit it off fast. Within a week, we were texting nonstop, and by the end of the month, we were dating. Olivia had this way about her. This magnetic pull that made people notice her, want to be around her. At parties, she'd be in the middle of the crowd, laughing, telling stories, her hands waving as she talked. Guys would hover, offering her drinks, and girls would hang on her every word. I'd watch from the sidelines, proud she was mine, but also a little uneasy. She's just friendly, I told myself. She loves the attention, but she's with me. And from the outside, we looked perfect. Me, the steady guy with a decent job, and her, the dazzling woman who lit up every room. I'd take her out to dinners, hold her hand, and feel like I'd won something big. She'd lean into me, whisper something funny, and I'd think, this is it. This is what people dream about. But even back then, there was this tiny voice in my head, quiet but nagging, wondering why she always needed every eye on her. I ignored it. Love makes you stupid like that. The first few months were a blur of excitement. She'd show up at my place, once it was fixed, with takeout and a bottle of wine, and we'd talk for hours. She had this effortless charm, this way of making me feel special, like I was the center of her universe. But looking back, I can see it wasn't always real. She'd flirt with waiters right in front of me, laughing it off when I'd frown. "Relax, babe, it's just fun," she'd say, and I'd let it go. She'd cancel plans last minute, leaving me waiting, but then she'd flash that smile, and I'd forgive her instantly. I told myself it was fine. She was lively, spontaneous, the opposite of boring old me. I liked that about her. At least I thought I did. People would tell me how lucky I was, how Olivia was one of a kind, and I'd nod, grinning, because yeah, she was. But that magnetic pull she had, it wasn't just for me. It was for everyone. And deep down, I think I knew that from the start. I'd lie awake sometimes, listening to her breathe next to me, wondering if I was enough for someone like her. She was always chasing something, attention, excitement, the next big moment, and I was just me. Steady, reliable, the guy who paid his bills on time and didn't make waves. But she'd roll over, throw an arm across my chest, and I'd push those doubts away. She chose me. I'd tell myself, out of everyone, she's here with me. And for a while, that was enough. 3 years ago, when we met, I thought I'd found the woman I'd spend my life with. I thought I knew her laugh, her quirks, the way she'd light up when she talked about her dreams. But now, looking back, I realize I didn't know her at all. I saw what I wanted to see, and that was my first mistake. Looking back, the signs were always there, staring me in the face, but I was too caught up in Olivia to care. From the very beginning, she had this way of treating my time like it didn't matter, like I was just some guy waiting around for her to show up whenever she felt like it. Our first real date, I remember sitting at this little Italian place, the one with the red checkered tablecloths, checking my watch every 5 minutes. I'd gotten there early, nervous but excited, wearing a shirt I'd ironed just for her. She was supposed to meet me at 6:30, but by 7 o'clock, there was still no sign of her. I texted her, nothing. I called, no answer. Finally, at 7:20, she strolled in, hair messy like she'd just rolled out of bed, smiling like it was no big deal. "Sorry, babe, got caught up with Sabrina," she said, sliding into the seat across from me. I wanted to be mad, but then she reached over, squeezed my hand, and started talking about her day like nothing was wrong. I let it slide. Love is about compromise, I told myself, sipping my water and nodding along. But it wasn't just that one time. She was late for everything. Dinners, movies, even my birthday party once. And every time, I'd wait, feeling like an idiot. But I'd forgive her because I didn't want to lose her. Then there was her job situation, which should have been a giant red flag waving right in front of me. Olivia worked in marketing, or at least she tried to. She'd get hired somewhere, all excited about the creative energy or whatever, but it never lasted. 3 months here, 4 months there, and then she'd be out. She'd come home ranting about how her boss was a total jerk who didn't get her vision, or she'd quit because the job wasn't appreciating her talent. I'd sit there on the couch, listening to her pace around our apartment, her voice getting louder as she trashed whoever she'd just walked away from. "They're all idiots," she'd say, tossing her hair like she was above it all. I'd nod, try to calm her down, maybe suggest she stick it out next time. "You don't understand," she'd snap, and I'd back off. Once, she got fired for missing a big deadline. She blamed it on her team, said they sabotaged her. I wanted to ask how that made sense, but I didn't. I just paid the rent that month when her half didn't show up. Red flag? Sure. Did I ignore it? You bet I did. The worst part, though, was how she talked about people, everyone, all the time. She'd send me these long text rants about her life, and half of them were her tearing into someone behind their back. Her best friend Sabrina, an insecure loser who's jealous of me. She'd type, her words sharp even through the screen. Her parents? Lazy nobodies who never made anything of themselves, she'd say, laughing like it was a joke. Her old bosses, her co-workers, even random strangers. She had something mean to say about all of them. I'd read those messages late at night, my phone glowing in the dark, and feel this twist in my gut. She's just venting. I'd tell myself, scrolling past the venom. But deep down, I knew it wasn't normal. I'd catch her smiling at Sabrina's face one day, hugging her like they were sisters, then trashing her to me the next. It was like she had two sides. One she showed the world, and one she let slip when she thought no one important was listening. I should have realized then that if she talked about them like that, she was probably saying the same about me when I wasn't around. That thought hit me sometimes, late at night, but I'd push it away. She loves me, I'd think. She wouldn't do that to me. I was blind, wasn't I? All those little clues, the way she'd flake on me, the way she couldn't keep a job, the way she cut people down like it was nothing. They were screaming at me to wake up. But I didn't. I'd sit there, watching her laugh at her own stories, her eyes bright with that wild energy, and I'd tell myself I was lucky. Lucky to have someone so alive, so bold, even if she made me feel small sometimes. I'd compromise, I'd wait, I'd listen, because that's what you do when you love someone, right? You bend a little. You make excuses. You tell yourself it's fine, even when it's not. Looking back now, I can see it all so clearly. Every missed date, every job she lost, every nasty word she threw around like confetti. The signs were there from day one. I just didn't want to see them. By our second year together, I started noticing how much Olivia's lifestyle was digging into my wallet, and honestly, it was my own fault for letting it happen. She had these expensive tastes, stuff I never even thought about before her. Designer bags with names I couldn't pronounce. Dinners at restaurants where the menu didn't even list prices, last-minute weekend trips to places with white sand and blue water. At first, it was exciting. She'd pull me into her world, all flashy and fun, and I'd feel like I was part of something bigger. But then the bills started piling up, and I realized I was the one footing them. I had a steady job. Nothing fancy, just a desk gig that paid the rent and kept the lights on. But Olivia? Her money came and went like a breeze. She'd blow whatever she made on clothes or nights out, then turn to me with those big green eyes and say, "Babe, can you cover this one? I'll get you back." I always said yes. I was the responsible one, the guy who didn't let things fall apart, so I picked up the slack. I told myself it was temporary, that she'd figure it out eventually, but she never did. Then came the car situation, and that's when I really should have put my foot down. Olivia had this dream, she'd talk about it all the time, of owning a Mercedes-Benz C-Class. She'd show me pictures on her phone, silver and sleek, her voice getting all dreamy. "It's not just a car," she'd say, "it's a statement." Her old Beater, this rusty sedan that coughed every time she started it, finally gave out one rainy afternoon. I was at work when she called me, practically in tears. It's dead, babe. I'm stranded. What am I supposed to do? I told her we'd figure it out, maybe get something used but reliable. But she had her heart set on that Mercedes. Next thing I know, we're at the dealership, her practically bouncing as she ran her fingers over the hood of the shiny new car. This is it, she said, grinning at me. This is the one. I looked at the price tag, way more than she could ever afford, and honestly, more than I wanted to deal with. But she kept going. I need this, babe. It'll make me feel good about myself. You want me to be happy, right? She leaned into me, her voice soft, and I caved. We worked out a loan, but her credit was shot from all those missed payments on random stuff she bought over the years. So, I co-signed it. Worse, I started helping with the monthly payments because her new job wasn't covering it yet. Once I land something stable, I'll pay you back, she promised, sitting across from me at our tiny kitchen table. She looked so serious, her hands wrapped around a coffee mug, and I believed her. I wanted to believe her. I nodded and say, okay, no rush, even though my bank account was starting to feel the squeeze. Rent, groceries, my own car, now hers too. I'd stay up late sometimes, staring at my laptop, moving numbers around to make it all work. She'd be asleep in the next room, not a care in the world. Well, I wondered how long I could keep this up. It wasn't just the money, it was the way she acted like it was normal. Like I owed her this life she couldn't pay for. She'd come home with a new handbag, some leather thing that cost more than my rent. And I'd ask, how'd you swing that? She'd laugh, twirl it around, and say, don't worry about it, babe. It's an investment. An investment in what? I never got a straight answer. But I'd smile, kiss her forehead, and let it go. Because fighting about it felt harder than just dealing with it. I started cutting corners in my own life to keep hers going. No more lunches out with the guys from work. Just a sandwich from home. No new clothes for me, even when my shoes started wearing thin. Meanwhile, she'd be posting pictures online, posing with that Mercedes or sipping cocktails at some rooftop bar, looking like she had it all together. People would comment, goals, or living the dream, and I'd feel this weird mix of pride and panic. Pride because she was mine, panic because I was drowning trying to hold her up. I'd tell myself it was love, that this was what you do for someone you care about. But every time I swiped my card for her, every time I said yes, when I wanted to say no, I felt a little piece of myself slip away. She promised she'd pay me back, and I clung to that like a lifeline. 2 years in, and I was still waiting. Our third anniversary was supposed to be the night everything came together, a chance to celebrate us after all the ups and downs. I've been planning it for weeks, wanting to make it special for Olivia because she always said I wasn't romantic enough. I picked La Reverie, this fancy restaurant she'd been dying to try, white tablecloths, dim lights, the kind of place where they charge you just to breathe the air. I made the reservation a month ahead, saved up extra from my paycheck to cover it, even got a fresh haircut the day before. I put on that dark blue suit she once said made me look dangerously handsome, checked myself in the mirror, and felt pretty good about it. I got to the restaurant at 7 p.m. sharp, right on time, my stomach flipping with nerves and excitement. The host led me to a table, a little spot by the window with a view of the city lights, and I sat down, picturing her walking in, smiling at me like she used to. I couldn't wait to see her face when she saw how much effort I'd put in. By 7:30, she still wasn't there. I pulled out my phone, sent her a quick text, "Hey, you on your way?" and set it face down on the table. No big deal, I thought. She's always late. I sipped my water, watched the other couples laughing and clinking glasses, and told myself she'd show up soon. The waiter came by, asked if I wanted to order anything while I waited. Not yet, I said, forcing a smile. She'll be here any minute. But 8 p.m. rolled around, and still nothing. I called her, straight to voicemail. Her cheery voice on the recording said, "Hey, it's Olivia, leave a message," and I hung up, my chest tightening. I stared at the empty chair across from me, the candle flickering between us, and felt the sinking feeling I couldn't shake. I should have left right then, grabbed my coat and walked out, but I didn't. I stayed, like some fool who couldn't admit the night was already falling apart. By 9 p.m., the waitstaff started giving me those looks, you know the ones, all soft eyes and pity, like I was some abandoned puppy. One of them refilled my water without me asking, and I mumbled a thanks, my face burning. I kept sitting there, checking my phone every few minutes, telling myself she'd have a good excuse. Maybe her car broke down again, or she got stuck in traffic. I'd wait a little longer, just in case. The restaurant hummed around me, people eating, talking, living their lives, while I sat frozen. holding on to this dumb hoe.
Welcome in, everybody.
Then, at 10 p.m., the doors swung open, and there she was, Olivia, finally. But she wasn't alone. 3 of her friends trailed behind her, all loud and giggling, their faces flushed like they'd already been drinking somewhere else. She spotted me, waved like it was nothing, and sauntered over with them in tow. "Hey, babe," she said, dropping into the chair across from me like she hadn't just made me wait 3 hours. Her friends, some guy named Noah, a girl with pink hair, and another I didn't recognize, pulled up extra chairs, crowding our table. They were tipsy, laughing too loud, acting like this was their night, not ours. I stared at her, my mouth dry, trying to figure out what to say. "You're late," I managed, but she just shrugged. "Yeah, we hit a bar first. Lost track of time. You know how it is." I didn't know how it was. I'd been sitting there, alone, while she was out partying without even a text. Before I could say anything else, she leaned back, smirking, and said it loud enough for half the restaurant to hear. "See? Told you he'd still be here like a pathetic puppy." Her friends burst out laughing, this sharp, cruel sound that cut right through me. Noah, this smug guy with a stupid earring, grinned at me and said, "Damn, she wasn't kidding. You're trained real good." The girl with pink hair snorted into her hand, and the other one cackled like it was the funniest thing she'd ever heard. I just sat there, silent, my hands clenched under the table, feeling every eye in the place turn toward us. Olivia laughed too, tossing her hair, like she'd scored some big win. I looked at her, the woman I'd spent 3 years loving, the woman I'd dressed up for, waited for, and saw something I hadn't let myself see before. She wasn't just late. She wasn't just careless. She was humiliating me, right there in front of everyone, and she didn't even care. The night I'd built up in my head was gone, shattered by her words, and all I could do was sit there, the pathetic puppy, watching it happen. I didn't say a word after Olivia dropped that line about me being a pathetic puppy. I didn't yell, didn't flip the table, didn't even let my face show how much it stung, like a knife twisting in my gut. Her friends were still laughing, their voices bouncing around the restaurant, and she just sat there, smirking, sipping the cocktail Noah had ordered for her like this was all some big game. I could feel the heat creeping up my neck, the shame of it all, but I kept it locked down. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of seeing me break. The waiter came by again, hovering near the table, probably wondering if this mess was worth his tip. I caught his eye, gave him a tight smile, and said, "Another drink, please." My voice was steady, calm, like I was just some guy enjoying his night. He nodded and scurried off, leaving me there with Olivia and her circus. Inside, though, my mind was racing. What the hell was I doing? Why was I still sitting there, taking this? They kept going, ordering appetizers, fancy little plates of shrimp, and some cheesy bread thing, chattering like I wasn't even there. Olivia barely looked at me, too busy laughing at Noah's dumb jokes or flipping her hair for the pink-haired girl's Instagram story. I watched her, really watched her, and it hit me hard. This wasn't love. Not anymore. Maybe it never was. She turned our anniversary into her stage, and I was just a prop, a sad, stupid prop she could mock to make herself look big. My drink came, a whiskey on the rocks, and I took a slow sip, letting the burn settle in my throat. "You okay, babe?" she asked at one point, her tone half teasing, half bored. I nodded, said, "Yeah, fine," and she went right back to ignoring me. That's when I decided I was done, not just with the night, but with her, all of her. I waited for the right moment. They were distracted, arguing over who'd get the last shrimp, when I pushed my chair back and stood up. "Be right back," I said, casual as anything, and headed toward the restroom sign. My heart was pounding, but my steps were steady. I passed the bathroom door, kept walking, straight through the kitchen where a cook glanced at me funny, and out the back exit into the cool night air. I didn't stop. I didn't look back. The street was quiet, just the hum of cars and the distant buzz of the city, and I pulled out my phone. Marcus picked up on the second ring. "Hey, man, you good?" he asked, his voice groggy like I'd woken him up. "Pick me up in 10, I said, giving him the cross streets a block away from our reverie. "Everything okay?" he pressed, but I just said, "Yeah, just come get me." He didn't argue, Marcus never did when I sounded like that, and I hung up, leaning against a brick wall to wait. I stood there, hands in my pockets, the whiskey still warm in my chest, and pulled up Olivia's number on my phone. My thumb hovered over it for a second, thinking about all the times I'd called her, waited for her, begged her to care. Then I hit block. Just like that. No big speech, no dramatic goodbye, just gone. Marcus's beat-up truck rolled up a few minutes later, headlights cutting through the dark. I climbed in, slammed the door, and he looked at me, eyebrows raised. "You gonna tell me what's up?" he asked, pulling back onto the road. I stared out the window, the city lights blurring past, and said, "Not yet." He nodded, turned up the radio, and drove. I didn't feel free, not then. Not with her words still echoing in my head, but I felt something else. Resolve, maybe. Like I'd finally taken a step I should have taken years ago. Walking out of that restaurant wasn't loud or messy, but it was final. A silent execution of everything we'd been. But I wasn't done. Not even close. Sitting in Marcus's truck, my mind started spinning, piecing things together. All the money I'd sunk into her, all the lies I'd swallowed, all the ways she played me. I wasn't going to let it end with me slinking away. She'd humiliated me, sure, but I had years of her careless words, her broken promises, stored up like ammunition. I didn't know exactly what I'd do yet, but I knew one thing. Olivia Carter wasn't going to walk away from this unscathed. She'd built her little kingdom on my back, and I was about to burn it down. Quietly, carefully, but completely. Marcus dropped me off at my place, and I thanked him, promising I'd explain later. I walked inside, flipped on the lights, and sat on my couch, staring at the wall. The night replayed in my head, her laugh, Noah's smirk, the pity in the waiter's eyes, but it didn't break me. It fueled me. She thought I was a puppy? Fine. This puppy was about to bite back. That night, after Marcus dropped me off, I didn't sleep. I couldn't. My head was buzzing, replaying Olivia's laugh, her pathetic puppy jab, the way her friends cackled like I was nothing. I sat on my couch, the room dark except for the glow of my laptop, and started digging. I wasn't just walking away, not this time. I'd spent 3 years propping her up, and now I was going to take it all apart. She built her shiny little life on my money, my patience, my silence, and I was done letting her get away with it. I grabbed a beer from the fridge, cracked it open, and got to work, checking everything I still had access to, every piece of her I could reach. It wasn't about yelling or fighting in the moment anymore. It was about hitting her where it hurt, quiet and cold, like she'd never see coming. First up was her car, that damn Mercedes she begged me for. I'd been stupid enough to co-sign the loan, and even dumber to keep making payments when her stable job never materialized. I logged into my bank account, my fingers shaking a little as I pulled up the autopay setup. There it was, $4.50 a month, straight from my checking to hers, keeping that car on the road. I called the bank's 24-hour line, waited through the annoying hold music, and finally got a tired-sounding guy on the other end. "I need to report financial manipulation," I said, keeping my voice flat. I explained how I'd been pressured into covering her loan, how she hadn't paid a dime despite her promises. "I'm canceling the next transfer," I told him. He asked a few questions, typed some stuff, and said it'd be flagged for review. By morning, her payment would bounce, and that car was one step closer to repossession. I leaned back, took a swig of beer, and felt a grim kind of satisfaction. She loved that thing, paraded it around like it proved she was somebody. Let's see how she liked it when the tow truck showed up. Next, I opened my phone and scrolled through years of her voice messages. I'd saved them all, mostly because I'm lazy about clearing my inbox, but now they were gold. Olivia had this habit of venting to me, long, rambling recordings where she'd trash everyone in her life. I tapped play on one from last year, her voice sharp through the speaker. "My boss is such a moron. Thinks he's hot stuff because he's got a corner office. I could do his job better blindfolded." Another one, about her best friend Sabrina. "She's so pathetic, crying about her breakup like anyone cares. Get over it." And then one about her parents, her tone dripping with disgust. They're embarrassing failures, never made a single smart move in their lives. I listened, my jaw tight, realizing how blind I'd been to let this slide. She'd sent me dozens of these over the years, probably thinking I'd never do anything with them. Well, she was wrong. I plugged my phone into my laptop, copied every file, and saved them in a folder labeled Olivia's Truth. This was just the start. Then there was her work email. She'd used my laptop a few times when hers crashed, and, lucky for me, she'd stayed logged in. I clicked into her inbox, half expecting it to be locked by now, but there it was, all her messages, right in front of me. Most of it was boring, marketing pitches, meeting invites, but then I found the good stuff. She'd been using her company account for personal endeavors, like emailing some side hustle she'd never told me about, selling overpriced skincare junk to her friends. Worse, there were chats with a coworker where she called their boss the spineless creep and bragged about slacking off. I screenshotted everything, my heart pounding as I pictured her face when this came back to bite her. I wasn't sure how I'd use it yet. Maybe a little anonymous tip to her HR department. But it was mine now, and that was enough. By morning, the first domino fell. My phone buzzed at 6 a.m. Olivia, calling from her number I'd already blocked. She must have realized the car payment didn't go through. I let it ring out, then watched as a text popped up from a random number. Babe, what's going on with the car? Call me. I deleted it without answering. The bank would have notified her by now, and I could almost hear her panicking, pacing around her apartment, that perfect little world of hers starting to crack. I stood up, stretched, and looked out my window at the gray dawn creeping over the city. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. I'd spent years letting her walk all over me, but now I had the upper hand. Her car, her job, her precious image. I was going to dismantle it all, piece by piece. Olivia Carter's collapse had begun, and I was just getting started. I woke up to my phone buzzing like crazy. 78 missed calls, all from Olivia, piling up since I'd crashed around 4 a.m. I barely slept, my head still spinning from the night before, but seeing those notifications lit something up in me. She was freaking out, and I hadn't even done much yet. I rolled out of bed, grabbed a coffee, and sat at my kitchen table, scrolling through the mess she'd left me. Voicemails, text from random numbers. She must have borrowed someone's phone after I blocked her, each one more desperate than the last. Babe, what's happening with the car? Why aren't you answering? This isn't funny, call me. I didn't reply. Not a word. I just sipped my coffee, letting her stew in it, knowing every unanswered message was another crack in her perfect little bubble. She'd humiliated me at La Reverie, laughed in my face with her idiot friends, and now the fallout was starting. This was just the beginning. First thing I did was send one of those voice clips, the one where she called her boss's spineless creep to an email I found in her work inbox. It was some coworker she'd ran into before, but I made sure to accidentally copy her boss on it too. I kept it simple, anonymous, no trace back to me, just forwarded the file with the subject line. But you should hear this. By noon, my phone pinged with a new text from her. What did you do? I just got fired. I could picture her, wide-eyed, yelling at her phone, maybe throwing something across her apartment. She'd been on thin ice at that job anyway, always late, always complaining, and now she'd handed me the perfect push to tip her over. I didn't feel bad, not even a little. She'd spent years treating people like dirt, and I was just letting her own words catch up to her. I deleted the text and moved on. Next, I tackled her parents. They'd always been nice to me, invited me over for dinners, asked about my job, treated me like family. Olivia didn't deserve them, not with the way she talked behind their backs. I pulled up that voicemail where she called them embarrassing failures, attached it to a quick message. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Carter, I think you should know what Olivia really thinks, and hit send from a burner email I'd set up. I didn't stick around to watch the explosion, but by 3 p.m., she texted again from yet another number. My parents won't even talk to me now. What's wrong with you? I could hear her voice in my head, shrill and panicked, and it felt good, like I was finally taking back some of the power she'd stolen from me. Her parents were her safety net, the one she'd run to when things got tough, and now that door was slamming shut. I tossed my phone on the couch and kept going. The car was the final blow that day. I'd already canceled the payment, and the bank didn't waste time. She must have gotten the official notice, late fees piling up, repossession looming, because by late afternoon, she was blowing up my phone again. The bank says they're taking the car. You can't do this to me, she wrote. Then, baby, please, I need the car for work. Funny how she cared about work now that it was gone. I didn't answer, but I called the bank to double check. The guy on the line confirmed it. One more missed payment, and they'd send the tow truck. It'd be gone by the end of the week. That Mercedes was her pride and joy, the thing she flashed around to prove she was better than everyone else, and now it was slipping through her fingers. I hung up, leaned back in my chair, and let out a long breath. 3 years of footing her bills, and this was what it came to, her begging me to fix what she'd broken. By night, Olivia was in full meltdown mode. The texts kept coming, a flood of them, each one wilder than the last. What did you do? Baby, Please, I was just joking at the restaurant. You're ruining my life over nothing. She was scrambling, trying every trick, anger, guilt, that fake sweetness she used to pull me back in. I read them all, one by one, my coffee going cold on the table. She thought she could charm her way out of this, like always, but not this time. I'd heard her real voice, the one she saved for when she thought no one was listening, and I wasn't falling for the act anymore. I didn't respond, not once. Silence was my weapon now, and it was driving her crazy. I could almost see her, pacing, crying, maybe screaming at her friends to help, but they wouldn't. They laughed with her at me, but they wouldn't lift a finger when the tables turned. She was alone, and I was making sure she felt it. The fallout had begun, and I was just warming up. By noon the next day, I was ready to cut the last threads tying me to Olivia, and I started with her stuff. She'd left so much at my place over the years: clothes, shoes, those fancy designer bags she loved showing off. It was all scattered around my apartment like she'd marked her territory. A silk scarf on the couch, a pair of heels by the door, a bottle of her overpriced perfume on my bathroom sink. I used to think it was cute, like she belonged here with me, but now it just made me mad. Every piece of it was a reminder of how much I'd let her take over my life. I grabbed some big black garbage bags from under the kitchen sink, the thick kind you use for yard waste, and started piling it all in. No neat folding, no careful packing in. Just grabbing and stuffing, letting the anger push my hands. A leather purse worth more than my rent. Into the bag, a stack of her tight dresses she'd worn to impress strangers. Tossed in, crumpled up. I didn't care anymore. She didn't deserve the respect I'd given her for so long. I worked fast, moving room to room, my heart pounding as I cleared her out. Her makeup bag, full of lipsticks and powders I'd probably paid for, went in next, clattering against a pair of sunglasses she'd borrowed from some boutique and never returned. I found a box of her old photos under my bed, smiling with people she'd probably trashed behind their backs, and I didn't even look twice before dumping it in. The bags filled up quick, heavy with her junk, and I dragged them to the front door, lining them up like I was evicting her ghost. No goodbyes, no explanations, just gone. I stood there for a minute, breathing hard, looking at the pile. 3 years of us, reduced to trash. It felt right. She treated me like garbage, so why should her stuff get any better? I wiped my hands on my jeans, grabbed my keys, and loaded the bags into my truck. I knew exactly where they were going. The drive to the local landfill was quiet, just the hum of the engine and the rattle of her things in the back. I didn't turn on the radio, didn't need it. My head was clear, focused, like I'd finally woken up from some long, stupid dream. The landfill was a few miles out of town, a big, stinking mess of dirt and garbage, and when I pulled up, the guy at the gate barely glanced at me. $10, he grunted, and I handed him the cash, nodding toward the bags. He waved me through, and I drove in, parking near a pile of old tires and broken furniture. I got out, hauled the first bag from the truck bed, and slung it as far as I could. It landed with a thud, splitting open a little, spilling some of her clothes into the muck. Good. I grabbed the next one, then the next, throwing them harder each time, watching them disappear into the heat. Her perfume bottle rolled out of one, shattering on a rusty car door, and the sharp smell mixed with the rot around me. I didn't stop until every bag was gone, my arms aching, my shirt sticking to my back with sweat. I stood there, hands on my hips, staring at the mess I'd made. She was trash, and now her stuff was right where it belonged. By 6 p.m., my phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. I let it ring, already knowing who it was. It went to voicemail, and a minute later, I played it back. Olivia's voice came through, hysterical, almost screaming. "Where's my stuff? I went by your place, and it's all gone. What did you do?" She was crying, her words breaking apart, and I could hear the panic, like she couldn't believe I'd actually done it. I deleted the message, my finger steady on the button. She must have gone to my apartment while I was out, probably banging on the door, expecting me to let her in like always. Not this time. I changed the locks that morning, just in case, and I wasn't playing her games anymore. She called again, twice more, but I didn't pick up. Her stuff was gone, just like my respect for her, buried in a landfill, rotting with everything else she'd ruined. I drove home, the truck empty now, and sat on my couch, cracking open another beer. The apartment felt bigger without her junk cluttering it up, quieter too. My phone buzzed with one last text from her. "You're a monster." I read it, let it sink in, then deleted it. A monster? Maybe, but she'd made me one, step by step. with every lie, every laugh at my expense. I'd given her everything, my time, my money, my heart, and she'd thrown it back in my face. Now she was losing it all, and I wasn't going to feel sorry for her. She belonged with the trash, and I'd made damn sure she got there. Within a week, Olivia's whole world fell apart, and I watched it happen from a distance, feeling lighter with every piece that broke off. She had nothing left, no job, no car, no savings, no place to turn, and I'd helped make sure of it. That morning after I dumped her stuff, I got a call from Marcus, his voice low and careful, like he was testing the waters. "Hey, man, Olivia's been blowing up my phone," he said. "She's begging me to talk to you, says she's got nowhere to go. What's going on?" I leaned against my kitchen counter, staring at the coffee pot bubbling away, and told him the short version, how she'd humiliated me at La Reverie, how I'd walked out, how I'd started unraveling her life. He didn't say much, just listened, then sighed. "She's my sister, you know, but she's been a mess for years. I told her to deal with her own crap this time. That was it. No lecture, no guilt trip. Marcus knew her better than anyone, and even he wasn't stepping in to save her." I thanked him, hung up, and poured my coffee, knowing another door had just closed on her. Her job was long gone by then. That email I'd sent to her boss, her own words calling him a spineless creep, had done the trick. She'd texted me about it nonstop that first day, screaming through my phone that I'd ruined her, but I hadn't heard anything since. I figured she'd given up on that front, probably too busy scrambling to care about a job she'd never liked anyway. The car was next to go. The bank didn't mess around. By Friday, I got a confirmation call that the Mercedes had been repossessed. I could imagine her standing on the street, watching some guy in a tow truck hook it up, her yelling at him like it'd change anything. She'd loved that car more than she'd ever loved me, and now it was back at some lot, waiting for someone else to drive it. I didn't feel a shred of guilt. She'd leaned on me to keep it, promised to pay me back, and never did. Let her figure out how to get around without it. Her savings? Non-existent. Olivia had always lived paycheck to paycheck, even when she had a paycheck, blowing it all on clothes, trips, whatever made her look good online. I'd seen her bank app once. Back when we shared takeout and secrets, she did $12 in checking and a maxed out credit card. I used to cover her share of everything, thinking she'd get it together someday, but someday never came. Now, with no job and no car, she had nothing to fall back on. Her parents wouldn't help. I'd made sure of that with the voicemail I sent. Marcus told me later they'd called her, furious, asking how she could say those things about them. She tried to explain it away, he said, but they weren't buying it. They're done with her. He told me over a beer that weekend. Told her she's on her own. I nodded, staring at the bottle in my hand, and felt another weight lift. She'd burned every bridge, and I'd handed her the matches. Meanwhile, I was getting my own life back, step by step. I canceled every joint account we'd had, some streaming service she'd begged me to get, a gym membership she never used but I'd paid for. I called my landlord, got the locks changed officially, and even rearranged my furniture, just to make the place feel like mine again. I stopped checking my phone every 5 minutes, waiting for her text or calls. The silence was golden. No more begging, no more whining, just me and my own space. I started sleeping better, eating better, even smiling a little when I caught myself in the mirror. It wasn't joy, not yet, but it was relief, like I'd been carrying her around on my back for years and finally dropped her off a cliff. I went out with Marcus that Saturday, just the two of us, and we talked about anything but her. Football, work, some dumb movie we'd both seen. It felt normal, like I was a person again, not just Olivia's doormat. She was crashing hard, and I wasn't lifting a finger to stop it. Marcus said she'd been crashing on a friend's couch, maybe that jerk from the restaurant. But even that wouldn't last. Her friends were the type who'd laugh with her when she was up, but scatter when she was down. She begged Marcus to mediate, to fix this with me, but he'd shut her down cold. "You made your bed," he told her, and I could have hugged him for it. Olivia had nothing. No money, no wheels, no family, no me. I'd spent years keeping her afloat, and now she was sinking fast. I sat on my couch that night, the apartment quiet, and realized I didn't miss her. Not even a little. She was declining, and I was rising, and that was exactly how it should be. Months later, I was sitting at my kitchen table, eating a bowl of cereal and scrolling through my phone, when an email popped up from Olivia. It was the first I'd heard from her since the chaos settled, and seeing her name in my inbox hit me like a jolt, part surprise, part dread. I put the spoon down, wiped my hands on my jeans, and opened it, not sure what to expect. The message was short, typed out in that careless way she had, like she hadn't even bothered to proofread. I don't know why you're doing this to me. You're overreacting. I thought you loved me. I miss you. That was it. No apology, no real explanation. Just her throwing out words like they'd magically fix everything. I read it once, then again, letting each line sink in. My kitchen was quiet, just the hum of the fridge in the background, and I sat there, staring at the screen, feeling this strange mix of anger and nothing at all. She still didn't get it. After everything, her laughing at me in that restaurant, her leaning on me for years, her losing it all, she still thought she could guilt me back into her life. I leaned back in my chair, running a hand through my hair, and thought about where I was now. The apartment was mine again, clean, simple, no trace of her left. I'd gotten a raise at work a few weeks back, nothing huge, but enough to feel good about. I'd started going out more, grabbing beers with Marcus or catching a game with the guys from the office. And I didn't spend my nights waiting for someone who'd never show up. My bank account was mine too. No more bailing her out. No more watching my money vanish into her hands. I'd even picked up running, something I'd always meant to do. And I'd go out in the mornings, the air cold against my face, feeling stronger every day. Life wasn't perfect, but it was better, way better, without her dragging me down. And here she was, popping up like a ghost, trying to pull me back into her mess with a few whiny sentences. I thought about replying, just for a second. I could have typed out everything. How she'd humiliated me at La Reverie. How I'd sat there while her friends laughed. How I'd spent years paying for her dreams while she mocked me behind my back. I could have told her about the car, the job, her stuff in the landfill, how I dismantled her life piece by piece because she'd pushed me too far. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, itching to let it all out, to make her see what she'd done. But then I stopped. What was the point? She wouldn't listen. She'd never listened. She'd twist it around, cry about how I was the bad guy, how she was the victim in all this. I'd seen it before, those big eyes filling with tears, that shaky voice begging me to forgive her, and I wasn't falling for it again. She didn't deserve my words, my time, my anything. I'd given her enough already. So I deleted it. Just like that. I highlighted the email, hit the trash button, and watched it disappear from my inbox. No hesitation, no second thoughts. It felt good, clean, like scrubbing a stain off the counter. I picked up my spoon, took another bite of cereal, and kept scrolling some dumb meme Marcus had sent, a news headline I didn't care about. Olivia's message was gone, and I wasn't going back to dig it out. She could miss me all she wanted, but I didn't miss her, not the real her, the one who'd shown up that night at the restaurant, loud and cruel and careless. I'd missed the idea of her, maybe, back when I thought she was someone worth loving. But that was over. I learned my lesson, and I wasn't unlearning it for her. I finished my breakfast, rinsed the bowl, and headed out for a run. The March air was crisp, the sky gray but brightening, and my shoes hit the pavement in a steady rhythm. I thought about her email as I ran, how it was her last try, her final swing at getting me back. She didn't know why I'd done it? Fine. She didn't need to. I'd done it because she'd shown me who she really was, and I believed her. Finally. That line stuck with me, something I'd heard somewhere, maybe from Marcus or some old movie. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. I hadn't, not for 3 years, but I did now. I picked up my pace, my breath puffing out in little clouds, and felt the weight of her fate with every step. She was the past. I was moving forward, and that was the end of it.